Trapos falando, bem-vindo assistindo Porcaria, mas bem-vindo ao Questionável da Webcam 48, dia 22 de 7 de 2025, mas sei lá o que, 17. Vai se fuder. Oh, buceta. Vá tomar no cu, Twitch. E aqui estamos.
Mesmo que eu tenha que derrubar, olha pra mim, Caraçu, eu vou parar ele.
E aí, fanfarrão? Vocês se lembram do desenho As Aventuras do Sonic the Hedgehog, que o chapéu muda completamente uma pessoa, né? Então que tal se proteger do sol com o melhor boné gamer de todos os tempos? O que você tem contra minha toquinha confortável? Bom, agora eu sou o Jonathan. Temos ele na cor azul com a aba vermelha com gamer escrito em alto relevo. É azul porque vermelho suja mais, confia. E dentro do boné, no forro, tem várias artes das thumbnails que a gente usa nos vídeos.
Porque é real.
Disponível na loja As Baratas. Link está no comentário fixado deste vídeo. E eu sei, é um boné, não é uma boina. Você sabe quão difícil é fazer o recorte disso aqui? Quando eu aprender a costurar, eu tento fazer boina pra vocês. Mas até lá, o boné já é a roça. Acho que essa foi a propaganda mais honesta que eu já fiz. Eu nem sei porque eu tô no Chroma aqui. Bem-vindos ao Zerando 64, a série do desafio de zerar todos os jogos do Nintendo 64. Tá, agora a parada ficou séria. Chegamos no pior jogo do desafio disparado até agora. E não se confunda, esse não é o mesmo Mahjong que já zerei no episódio 10 da série, que levei 90 horas pra terminar. Pois esse é o Mahjong 64, o segundo jogo de Mahjong lançado por Nintendo 64 no começo de 97. Pois é, tô zerando jogos em ordem de lançamento. E já estamos nos jogos de 1998, mas fiquei preso nessa praga de Mahjong por meses. E spoiler, ele é o jogo que mais tomei tempo pra zerar, levando um total de 110 horas. Então não se engane, isso não é vídeo repetido, pois esse é o Mahjong 2. Esse jogo é tão difícil que nem japonês consegue zerar isso sem sofrimento. Nossa senhora, esse jogo demorou 20 horas a mais que o outro Mahjong. E olha que eu já cheguei sabendo jogar dessa vez, então era pra ter ido mais rápido. Bom, eu não conhecia esse jogo, mas tenho o prazer ou desprazer de ter essa fita original que foi presente da Lorena, uma inscrita do canal. Obrigado pelo presente da onça. Bom, como dá pra ver, esse jogo é quase um clone do Mahjong Master. Esses dois jogos de Mahjong lançaram há poucos meses de diferença um do outro, mas bizarramente não são feitos pela mesma empresa. Pois não é só os gráficos que são iguais, a inteligência artificial dos bots também é muito parecida com o do outro Mahjong. Eu perdia pelas mesmas roubalheiras aqui. A única diferença é que tem animação de mão poligonal bem feia dos personagens pegando as peças. Parece até mão de caveira, credo. E não tem as fotinhas animadas dos personagens durante o jogo, então infelizmente nada de Ed Purp aqui. Pelo menos ele continuou presente no chat, então ele tá sempre junto com a gente nesse desafio.
Ele é quietinho, aí ele fala: "Oh, vamos jogar Mahjong."
As músicas desse jogo são bem simples, não atrapalham, mas também não empolgam. A
Eu
única que
tinha
chama
visto as
atenção
lives dessa
é uma
porra,
que
esse
é
jogo é uma
muito
merda,
parecida
velho.
com a abertura do programa do Didi por algum motivo. Bom, esse aqui pra zerar é um pouco diferente do outro. Esse jogo se passa numa escola de Mahjong. Preciso ganhar umas 4 notas positivas pra passar de ano 4 vezes. E parece simples, né? Cada partida dura 1 ou 2 horas, então daria pra zerar em menos de 20 horas tranquilo. Ai, que ingênuo que eu tava quando comecei a jogar isso. Começando o jogo, deixei as opções do padrão, não mexi em nada. Na tela principal dos prédios da faculdade, podemos escolher onde vamos jogar Mahjong. Esse daqui é o principal, que eu ganho notas. Os outros é torneios extras, diretoria pra ver o progresso e ir embora pra salvar o jogo. E eu já cheguei chegando nesse jogo bem confiante no começo. O outro Mahjong foi tipo um anime, com arcos de treinamento, e eu era tipo o Goku treinando com vários manjões do Mahjong e aprendendo as técnicas. No jogo anterior eu aprendi a jogar Mahjong de verdade lá pras 40 horas de jogo, então o arco de treinamento aqui já está feito.
Tornamos a nos encontrar. Quando deixei, eu era apenas um aprendiz. Agora eu sou o mestre.
Mas agora isso é Dragon Ball Z e apanhei igual o Goku apanhou por Raditz, pois aqui realmente tá bem mais difícil. Eu já ensinei como é que joga Mahjong no outro vídeo, mas resumindo, o meio da tela é apenas o cemitério das peças que descartamos, então se você não manja, foque apenas na minha mão. A missão é juntar o maior número de peças iguais ou sequências de 3 possível. Pode ser vários trios, tipo 1, 2, 3, ou tudo igual mesmo, mas precisa pelo menos de uma dupla pra fechar a mão. E como eu falei, é tipo uma competição pra ver quem organiza a estante de DVDs primeiro. Os caracteres das peças são iguais ao outro jogo, então não precisei reaprender nada, e o pessoal que manja de Mahjong das lives anteriores até montou um PDF poderoso com várias mãos fortes pra eu decorar, ou outras mãos que se formam mais rápido pra eu bater dentro da máquina. Então obrigadão Valesca Duda e Lucag pelo PDF. Se eles permitirem, eu deixo o PDF no comentário fixado pra quem quiser aprender melhor. Mas apesar do PDF poderoso, eu não consegui fazer muita coisa especial, pois os bots daqui são idênticos ao das últimas fases do outro Mahjong. Ou seja, já no começo desse jogo, o bot tava no talo, no nível hard, e sempre focando em bater com peças que eu descarto pra roubar o meu dinheiro e me botar pra último lugar já nos primeiros turnos.
Olha que jogo bonito que formou. Ah, e a propósito, ninguém jogou o 4 no tabuleiro, então provavelmente alguém quer. Toma, morre, viu? O que eu falo, cara? Como que eu vou ganhar?
Então ele sempre batia o mais rápido possível. Às vezes já nos primeiros 3 turnos era quase impossível montar mão forte nesse jogo. Então eu foquei em montar mãos fracas, pois são mais rápidas e ganhando pouco dinheiro, mas pelo menos eu não tava perdendo, saca? E o bot daqui sempre disfarça que tá roubando, igual no outro Mahjong. Era muito conveniente, como a peça que ele queria sempre vinha pra mim, estragando a mão que eu tava montando, me botando em furitem e me obrigando a descartar essa peça que o bot queria pra ele me matar.
Mas tô com uma mão mó bonitinha aqui. A máquina vai bater, quer ver? Logo logo ela acaba. Viu? Quando eu tenho uma mão boa, a máquina também tem. Eu consigo prever quando o jogo vai roubar.
Mas não tinha nada que eu podia fazer, já que empatar também não é uma opção, pois eu também perco dinheiro nos empates. E no começo eu apanhei bastante por causa de uma mudança simples no controle desse jogo. Aqui ele não avisa quando eu formo as mãos que eu posso bater. Então eu aposto que teve várias partidas que eu tinha mãos fortes e nem percebia, pois o jogo não me avisava. Aqui você tem que apertar o botão pra baixo pra abrir o menu perguntando se você quer bater ou não.
E você bater? Yeah! Ganhei $8.000 de falência.
Então, como eu sempre dormia no ponto por causa disso, eu já comecei bem, tirando o meu primeiro D. Esse jogo temos 8 chances de tirar nota positiva. Posso escolher qual modalidade eu quero tentar tirar nota. De começo eu tava meio perdido, pegando qualquer matéria, já tomei mais notas negativas. Goku, caramba, eu tava me sentindo Yantia explodido aqui, isso sim. Então eu recomecei o jogo do zero pra limpar o boletim, e foi com 8 horas de jogo que eu consegui ganhar minha primeira partida. Assim eu tirei meu primeiro B. Fui avançando e com quase 11 horas de jogo descobri a coisa mais tenebrosa desse jogo, saca só. Entrei numa partida que foi péssima e decidi desligar o console pra tentar de novo, porém o jogo salvou automaticamente e me deu nota D por ter desistido. Eu não posso nem quitar mais que o jogo sabe, é tipo o Mr. Reset do Animal Crossing.
Como assim ele salvou que eu quitei? E contou como nota negativa, filho da puta, jogo.
Cara, pensa um pouco, o jogo usa o memory card do controle, e quem usou memory cards dessa época sabem como eles são sensíveis se você desligar o console sem salvar, por exemplo. Ele pode corromper toda a memória do memory card. Ou pior, se o jogo trava ou cai energia durante um salvamento, também pode dar merda, né? Então eu não sei se o jogo fica fazendo save sozinho, sem avisar, ou se quando a gente entra na partida ele meio que instala um arquivinho, tipo um trojan no memory card. E quando eu desligo, ele checa por esse arquivo e percebe que eu desliguei o console sem terminar a partida. E na moral, isso é até que aceitável dependendo do jogo. Se a regra do jogo é não desligar para resetar, então tudo bem, posso obedecer isso. Porém as partidas desse jogo são gigantes, demorando até 2 horas, e às vezes as partidas têm mais de um round ainda, fazendo tudo levar quase mais que 4 horas até. Você não pode nem dar uma pausa no meio do caminho, azar o teu se você tem um compromisso enquanto joga isso. Esse jogo foi um desafio de resistência, pois eu começo a jogar os jogos de Nintendo 64 nas lives lá pras 8 ou 9 da noite, e deixava Mahjong pra depois da meia-noite. E por causa das partidas longas, às vezes eu ficava preso até às 7 horas da manhã, pois eu não podia sair, senão o jogo me dava nota ruim. Tinha que ir até o final, mas tudo bem.
Calma aí.
Com 13 horas de jogo, eu consegui a última nota positiva que eu precisava. Ó, se é nota positiva, passar de ano é passar de ano, não me venha com essa não. Com isso, vemos um filminho de uma escadinha de peças de mahjong. E agora, no segundo ano, eu preciso de 4 notas positivas.
Novo óleo seda AminoSilk, com tecnologia que penetra fio a fio, para cabelos absurdamente macios que deslizam como seda. Experimente!
Oh, olha que massa, fizemos parceria com o canal OpenAI Dash e eu sou o produtor executivo da série Quest Paralela. Seja lá o que for que um produtor faz, mas oh, olha como eu tô bonito no universo deles. Awesome! O desenho animado conta as aventuras dos irmãos Ward e Bertrand, invadindo vários jogos de Nintendo 64, e vocês sabem que isso é bem a nossa praia.
É o herói do tempo!
A animação é bem no estilo clássico dos anos 90, cheio de referências de jogos e um elenco de dubladores de peso.
Maravilha!
E alguns estão redublando personagens que eles já dublaram no passado.
Sinais vitais estáveis. Não vou soltar, não, de jeito nenhum.
É isso sim que é voz de Mario.
Eu não vou pular.
Assista o desenho agora mesmo no YouTube, no link do comentário fixado desse vídeo, e fique ligado nas novidades dos novos dubladores famosos e episódios. Ou até em participações minhas por lá. Nunca se sabe, pois eu posso aparecer lá no fundo a qualquer momento. Mas de qualquer forma, espero que vocês gostem da animação. Vamos lá, no segundo ano eu consegui tirar meu primeiro C, por ter ganhado 12 mil dinheiros em uma das jogadas. É, mesmo com tudo isso, eu só tirei nota C. Ah, mas não festeja não, pois eu perdi uma partida que eu desliguei o console, e depois outra partida de 3 horas que só tirei nota ruim no final. Foi doloroso. Mas isso não foi nada, pois eu perdi mais um monte de partida e já tava pra reprovar de ano. Eu não sabia o que tinha que fazer, então eu decidi reprovar pra ver se iria resetar o segundo ano. Porém, não! Vemos um filminho triste com estrela cadente e tudo mais, e voltei pro primeiro ano. Eu não reprovei o segundo ano, eu fui expulso da faculdade de Mahjong. Ou seja, eu tenho que jogar tudo de novo. Com isso foi 22 horas enfiadas na bunda. Não é possível, que jogo cruel. Ah, por isso desliguei a animação das mãozinhas que são lentas demais no jogo, para as peças só teleportar onde elas têm que ir, para as partidas irem mais rápido. Ruim que isso também fez eu perder mais rápido, pois acabo prestando menos atenção no que os bots estão descartando, mas não dá. Esse jogo é muito lento, qualquer coisa que acelera a gameplay é bem-vinda. E aprendi como que recupera notas aqui. Quando você tira uma nota ruim, você não pode rejogar para trocar a nota, a não ser que você vá no prédio da esquerda jogar partidas extras, tipo uma aula de recuperação mesmo. Foda que são partidas completas de 4 rounds de 1 hora cada round, e ir bem nelas você ganha uns pontinhos, juntando 3.000 pontos você ganha uma medalha que você pode usar para deletar uma nota ruim do seu boletim, só para você tentar de novo. Então a punição por jogar Mahjong ruim é jogar mais Mahjong. Esse meme é muito fraco, pois estamos sentenciados a mais de milhões de horas de Mahjong, isso sim. Fiquei horas e muitas lives só na recuperação, mas notei que mesmo ficando em último lugar na recuperação eu ganhava uns 500 pontos, então perdendo de propósito 6 vezes me dava uma das medalhas. Eu só entrava nas partidas e ficava macetando o A para perder o mais rápido possível e desistia da partida depois do primeiro round. E mesmo assim, ficava praticamente 1 hora farmando medalhinhas, perdendo 10 partidas. Pra deletar uma nota e logo em seguida tirar outra nota ruim por causa dos bots trapaceiros. Aí voltava lá, mais 1 hora perdendo de propósito pra ganhar outra medalha. Era um ciclo vicioso. Não adianta saber jogar Mahjong aqui, você precisa saber lidar com a máquina folgada também.
Como que eu ia combater um troço desse? O jogo me dá uma mão que não é ganhável. Ele me deu um dragão verde solo, que tá cagando a minha mão. A única opção que eu tenho é eliminar. É justo o que o bot precisa.
E até agora não falei da performance do jogo, pois acredita que esse jogo ainda por cima roda mal? É, um jogo de quadradinhos brancos engasgando frames. O ruim disso é que fazia dar delay nos botões que eu apertava fazendo a mãozinha branca deslizar. Tipo o Mario escorregando no gelo, ela não para exatamente onde você manda parar às vezes. E isso me fez cometer cada erro babaca que custava toda a partida.
Não! Eu ia jogar o 8 delay, filho da puta, o cara me arrancou $8.000 por causa da malfeitice desse jogo. Caralho!
Como que pode isso? O jogo simplesmente não funciona bem. A parte mais importante, que é o mouse que escolhe as peças. Qual é? Console engasgando com isso. Tá me tirando. Mas isso nem foi a pior parte. Oh, não. Com 44 horas de jogo, o pior que poderia acontecer, aconteceu. Esse jogo desgraçado corrompeu meu memory card. O jogo salvou 2 saves no memory card sem eu mandar e fez ele ficar lotado. Daí, ao invés de dar load no meu arquivo, ele reclamava que meu memory card estava lotado e não continuava o jogo. Então eu tinha que deletar o save clonado que o jogo criou. Eu até tentei fazer backup passando os arquivos para outro memory card usando um programa do Overdrive, mas também não funcionou. O programa simplesmente não reconheceu o Mahjong 64, sei lá. Então fui deletar o clone, sem saber qual era o clone, pois o jogo não nomeia os files de save 1 e save 2. Nisso, nem sei se eu escolhi errado ou se já tava tudo perdido, pois o jogo começou do zero. Essa foi a primeira vez que me deu vontade de chorar por causa de raiva por videogame na minha vida, provavelmente. Porra, eu falei que essa mania de salvar toda hora podia dar merda, não falei? Eu não sei se eu desliguei o videogame na hora errada em algum momento, ou se o jogo cansou o memory card de tanto salvar nele até dar essa merda. Então, cara, eu perdi 20 horas por causa de um game over e outras 20 horas por causa de jogo quebrando o meu memory card. Esse definitivamente é o pior jogo que eu tô jogando até agora no desafio. Achei que depois do Mahjong Master qualquer jogo seria fichinha, mas não, Mahjong 64 conseguiu superar tudo nesse desafio. Sério, não tem como outro jogo ser pior que isso.
Porra. Tá que pariu, procurando um negócio nessa buceta de Instagram, os caras me sobem de novo, tomando cu, presa de merda, meta, vai tomando cu, Zuckerberg.
9 de cada 10 clientes compram e aprovam os carros da Localiza Seminovos.
Pergunta do dia. Por que a assinatura básica tem esse nome? Se de básica não tem nada. Olha, essa eu também que...
Avisando rapidão que as camisetas do canal estão disponíveis na loja. Tem a clássica camiseta gamer, a dos vilões que criamos na saga Vinete e a especial do Nintendo 64 em homenagem às reviews do Zerando 64. Para encontrá-las é fácil, elas estão na aba loja do canal ou descendo na página dos vídeos. Então vamos lá, voltei pro jogo usando outro memory card por segurança. Com uma nova estratégia, vou focar só na mão mais fraca do jogo, que é fazer sequências de 2 a 8, ou tudo igual se der, pra sempre tentar bater antes dos bots o mais rápido possível, com o Kaioken que eu aprendi do PDF da Valesca. E sempre que meu boletim começasse a ficar vermelho, eu já ia pra recuperação, perder o mais rápido possível pra ganhar a medalha pra deletar as notas negativas. Ah, e as músicas dos clipes das lives são de outros jogos que o pessoal do chat escolhia.
$15.000?
Pois já tinha enjoado a música do Didi aqui. Joguei por mais 15 horas pra chegar onde eu tinha parado e consegui passar de ano numa partida gigante que eu fiquei em último quase o tempo todo, mas arranhei o 3º lugar conseguindo tirar nota C pelo menos. E, pra falar a verdade, eu não sei se tem mais o que falar sobre esse jogo. É isso, fui jogando Mahjong por mais 30 horas conseguindo passar pro último ano com mais de 80 horas de jogo. Pior que o jogo vai ficar ainda mais difícil ainda por cima. Os bots continuam na mesma dificuldade trapaceira na real, não senti diferença neles. O que mudou é que agora eu preciso de 5 notas positivas e isso me obriga a jogar nas modalidades mais chatas, com mais regras diferentonas ou mais puxadas. Por exemplo, nos outros anos eu tirava nota C ganhando em 3º nas partidas, mas agora eu preciso ganhar em 2º ou 1º para tirar C. Tirar B ou A preciso ganhar com muito dinheiro na conta. De acho, viu? Nisso tive a minha melhor partida, consegui bater com uma mão poderosa que me rendeu 24 mil dinheiros. Oh, olha que mão bonita. Tudo duplinha com sequência clonada ainda por cima. 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6. Maravilhoso.
Mas tenta... Acho que eu vou tirar A.
Caralho. Com isso eu tirei meu primeiro e único A nesse jogo. E aqui está o momento. O primeiro jogo do desafio que bateu 100 horas de jogo.
Vai explodir o bug do milênio. O Wolf ficou pra fora. Caramba, que coisa feia.
100. Em minha defesa, teve um game over que fez eu perder 20 horas e um save corrompido que fez eu perder 40 horas. A run que eu zerei esse jogo, na verdade, teve só 60 horas. Que ainda é muito pra essa besteira, não me entenda mal. Faltando a última nota positiva, fiquei tentando a modalidade menos pior que sobrou, que é um jogo que preciso terminar um round com mais de 30 mil pontos, por pelo menos um ou mais rounds. Tentei isso várias vezes, mas sempre perdia no final dos rounds, e tinha que ir lá na recuperação farmar moedinhas a cada derrota. Mas finalmente, em uma das tentativas, consegui sobreviver raspando com 30.300 pontos. A nota 6 já estava garantida, mas fiquei com medo de perder de propósito, então continuei na maciota. E fui ganhando todas, sem querer.
Eu ganhei de novo, droga, em primeiro. Eu quero perder agora.
Sobreviver por 4 rounds com mais de 30 mil pontos.
Meu Deus, eu não consigo parar de ganhar. Viciei. 12 mil dólares, chega. Toma no cu. Eu quero perder. Eu vou tirar A desse jeito.
Até que perdi, mas já garanti a nota B. Então, com isso, finalmente me graduei na escola da morte de Mahjong.
Foi. Por favor, fala que foi.
Yes, o jogo zerado com 110 horas. Vemos umas fotos das salas de aula, uma mensagem e é isso. Voltamos pro menu principal pra continuar jogando e passando de anos várias vezes. Não, obrigado. Então meu currículo ficou assim. Eu me formei uma vez, tirei 35 notas D, 1A e joguei 255 partidas de Mahjong. Então chega!
Eu não jogo mais!
Mahjong 64 recebe a terrível nota inédita do canal de 0 de 10. Sim, essa desgraça conseguiu. Isso é o pior jogo que já joguei na vida. Nada que funciona. Gráficos péssimos, feios, músicas chatas, enjoativas, performance lagando numa tolice dessas, engasgando os botões junto, me fazendo errar as peças que eu queria descartar. E o jogo salvar toda a maldita partida foi sacanagem. Não pela proposta, e sim por corromper o meu memory card, que depois tive que formatar pra ele voltar ao normal. Absurdo, cara. O jogo pode estragar um acessório do seu videogame, pois ele abusa do autosave sem avisar que ele está salvando. É por isso que nos jogos geralmente fala jogo salvando, não desligue o console. E a cereja do bolo, os bots roubando na cara dura, batendo sempre com a próxima peça que eu pegava do baralho. Nas vezes que eu perdi de propósito, a máquina sempre batia com as peças que eu jogava, porque eu tava só macetando o botão A. Os bots nunca pegavam dos outros bots. É insano, isso é 3 contra 1, literalmente. Ou seja, eu nem odiei esse jogo por ser de Mahjong, eu odiei ele por ser péssimo, um jogo que mal funciona. Eu realmente espero que os outros Mahjongs não sejam tão malucos quanto esse, pois isso tá atrasalando demais a agenda do 64. Comecei esse jogo em outubro de 2024 e terminei em maio de 2025. Fiquei 7 meses nisso? Eu tive que atropelar outros jogos bons no desafio pra não ficar sem vídeo no canal, e eu sempre ficava com medo do pessoal enjoar das lives, pois foi Mahjong por 7 meses sem parar. Por isso, fico agradecido demais pelo pessoal que assistiu às lives. Não perdemos espectadores e até pelo contrário, às vezes aparecia mais gente pra ver eu jogando Mahjong. Ou tava entrando pra me ver puto, xingando o jogo, vai saber.
Delay, filho da puta.
De qualquer forma, obrigado a todos que estão acompanhando esse desafio. Se não fosse pelo sucesso que tá sendo as views nas lives e nos vídeos, eu já teria parado isso faz tempo. Vocês realmente são awesome. E obrigado Valesca Duda pelo PDF. Tenta manter ele online o quanto der, pois eu vou precisar dele, já que ainda temos 4 Mahjongs pra zerar nesse desafio. Tô ferrado. E esse foi o último jogo zerado no desafio. Caramba, terminar isso foi igual ir pro banheiro depois de uma semana constipado. Esse jogo atrasou muito o desafio e depois de zerar ele, consegui desentupir a planilha, zerando quase 20 jogos rapidão logo em seguida. Por isso, dê o seu like se curtiu esse vídeo, pois ajuda demais a continuar essa loucura. Se inscreva no canal para não perder os próximos vídeos e assista as reviews anteriores pela playlist Zerando 64 para você maratonar todo em ordem de lançamento, para ver a evolução do console ou o desgosto que tá sendo isso. E esse foi mais um obstáculo cruel superado nesse desafio. Espero que os próximos jogos não empaquem tanto. Apesar que começamos o pachinko, então vamos ver como que vai ser isso, né?
Bater a cabeça na máquina.
Bom, eu sou o Sr. Wilson e até a próxima review. Se cuidem. Agora fiquem com um trechinho do próximo episódio.
O louco! Counter do counter do counter! Uau! Nem sei como que eu fiz, mas aconteceu. Muito bonito. Ainda marcou? Bosta. Yeah, bate palma pros amiguinhos. Yeah, let's go. Ah lá, 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 lá. Ah lá, foi. Yes! Nossa, ela tem 3.500 agora. Agora fui pra puta que pariu, não tem como ganhar mais. De português, cal. Oh! Yellow! Amarelo! Deixa eu apertar o A. Yeah! Ah, it's a motherfucking Brazilian reference. E é português mesmo, não é mexicano aqui. Bam! Toma isso, jogo. Brasil, motherfucker! Aí eu escrevi errado, é? E amarelo.
No céu tem pão.
Às vezes, o trabalho pode ficar extremamente complicado, a não ser que você use a Monday.com, uma plataforma de gestão de trabalho que permite visualizar todo o trabalho da sua equipe em uma só tela. Assim, a comunicação fica organizada.
Já foi assistido, porra. Tem vídeo aqui na... Aqui. Que eu já assisti, mas que é pra assistir em live.
How's it going, dudes? So you're 4 years old. You've recently gotten your hands on that sentience thing that's been all the rage recently, and you want to give your brain a test run. But don't want to push it too hard, after all, it is brand new. Well, buddy, it doesn't get much less taxing than this. Candyland. Draw a card, wait, draw a card, wait, draw a card, wait. I have a great amount of respect for Candyland, being one of the first board games that many people play, and taking on the task of introducing toddlers to the concept of a mechanic. It is a Hall of Fame game in terms of its impact on the genre. But at the same time, have you sat down and played this game recently? Chutes and ladders can be exciting. Target the Game of Life is boring. This is the only game I've played that's left me devoid of all emotion. I was straight up dorseless. But regardless of mine or anyone else's opinion, one thing that no one can disagree with is that this thing made money. Having sold over 50 million copies since its 1949 publication and earning the title of one of the best-selling games of all time. And what do we do when something is bringing in the cash, kids? We milk that cash cow dry. The Candyland Candy brand is everywhere. Mainline titles, spin-offs, tie-ins, TV shows, movies, books, and even a gosh dang coffee line that I looked into earlier. Hashtag KingRed40. So, as per usual, we're going to take a look at everything the Sultan of Sweet has on offer, breaking the games into themed and revamped editions, as well as taking a look at the side projects that our boys at Hasbro have conjured up to bring in those big bucks. So grab that peppermint axe and your emergency insulin, as it's time to draw your first card and start our adventure through the worst and weirdest of Candyland. So what is interesting about Candyland is that most of the game's themed editions, those being the games with no gameplay changes, just a different coat of paint, come from the mainline series and not tie-ins. See, games like Monopoly get their high body count from adding titles like Monopoly Bass Fishing or Monopoly World War II, while Candyland instead opts for releasing a new version with minimal changes, like it's peddling a smartphone or a new car. Yeah, buddy, the 2027 Jeep Gladiator is a fine vehicle. As such, we'll be spending a majority of the themed editions rolling through each new version of the game. But before we do that, there are a couple of tie-ins to get through first that will be rocking rapid fire. Candyland Hershey replaces all of the Candyland sweets with Hershey branded confections. Candyland Disney Princess Game, Candyland the Disney Theme Park Edition, Candyland Dora the Explorer Edition, Candyland My Little Pony pre-rebrand. Candyland My Little Pony the movie post-rebrand. Comes with included Rainbow Dash figurine. Oh, good lord, please no. Candyland Unicorn Edition. I don't know why Hasbro needed to make a great value My Little Pony version when they own My Little Pony, but hey, I do like this actual regular horse that just has ice cream stuck on his head. He's my favorite. Candyland Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Candyland Winnie the Pooh Edition, and Lucky's Charm World Candyland, which does actually come with one gameplay change, the Leprechaun Trap card, which skips your next turn as you get caught in your own trap trying to catch Lucky. This does fall in line with the lore. Have you ever tried to trap an Irishman? They are surprisingly nimble. But past the tie-in titles, we have a large number of mainline games to run through, along with the interesting changes found in each one. Beginning, of course, with the one that started it all, Candyland Game 1949. A sweet little game for sweet little folks. I really don't like this dog's chances of making it through the Chocolate River. Candyland Game is the very first rendition of the title with an awesome story behind its creation. 1 year earlier, the prototype for the game was put together by schoolteacher Eleanor Abbott, as during her stay in the local hospital, she designed the game to help entertain the kids that were trapped in the polio ward.
Praia pé de escola. A cerveja que desce é redonda. Beba com moderação.
You know, dying of polio. Abbott was eventually encouraged to pitch her game to Milton Bradley, and after paying Abbott a visit, the executive team liked her so much that they agreed to produce the game as a temporary fill-in title, as at this point, Milton Bradley was a mid-tier publisher at best. I mean, their best-selling game at the time was Uncle Wiggily. Never heard of it? Yeah, for good reason. So they started putting Candyland on the shelves, and to their surprise, it began to slaughter everything else on the market, immediately elevating Milton Bradley to industry giant status and making a ton of money for everyone involved. Of course, with all those royalties coming in, Abbott wasted no time spending most of the dosh, deciding to purchase tons of supplies and equipment, which she donated to local area schools. Ladies and gentlemen, this might be the sweetest woman of all time. With this origin, this version of the game has a lot of elements that showcase that it was made for children in a hospital. Heck, even with all of the whimsical candy locations, your ultimate goal in the game is just to get home. Alright, we're supposed to be looking at worst and weirdest here, but at the current moment we've been focused almost entirely on polio-stricken children. Can we get some whack crap in here to maybe lighten the mood? Certainly. Looking at the board, it appears that these two children are traveling nearly 200 miles solely on foot. Roughly the distance between Chicago and Indianapolis, which would take 3 days to walk. This means that if you took the real-life Candyland challenge, you wouldn't even make it into the top 5 longest games I've covered. How? But no time to walk it out, as just 6 years later, Milton Bradley would be back in action with a new and improved rendition, Candyland Game 1955. A real shame, too, as if they waited just 1 more year, they could have themed it around the Federal Aid Highway Act, a major event in paving history. This version of the game leaned into the raging success of Candyland by making it more appealing to the mass market. The colors are brighter, the areas are more whimsical, and your mission is now to get to this sick candy house, of which I imagine the maintenance costs must be astronomical. The biggest change for the game, though, is the replacement of the wooden pawns from the original with the new plastic gingerbread men that have remained a series staple. Made to resemble the only other character in the game besides the players, Gingerbread Man. This is the earliest instance of lore for the game. Gingerbread Man cares for the gingerbread plum tree that's in the center of the board. Pretty simple right now, but trust me, the lore goes crazy later. Last thing to mention about this one is the space total, as both this and the original carry 179 spaces. By far the most in the series, and nearly 50 more than what will become the standard. So yeah, if you thought getting through a game was tough now, add an extra 40% to the game's length and you've got 50s entertainment. Everybody better count your blessings. 7 years later and they are back at it again with Candyland Game in 1962. This one is very simple with the changes. 45 less spaces, Gingerbread Man has taken up a larger role as the mascot, and the kids have morphed back into a more realistic form? The Candyland kids really have no concrete design, they kind of just change at will like some sort of shape-shifting beast. There could be something there to look into, but that's just a theory. Another 5 years, another title, it's Candyland 1967. Yes, America no longer needs to be reminded that Candyland is a game anymore, and it only took them 18 years. I'm going to lead this one off with a quote directly from the Candyland wiki. The 1967 board is dramatically more ambitious than its predecessors. Yes, after years of clamoring, Candyland has finally caved to audience demands and added a free-to-play Battle Royale mode. Make sure to grab the Shrek tie-in Gingy skin for only $25.99. The 1967 version features not only a board that folds into thirds, but also a dramatic art overhaul. Each location has a colorful background, the spaces are more like stones along a path, and the whole region just looks more alive and lived in. Gingerbread Man has even been rewarded for his last 18 years of service by officially being named on the board, properly making him the mascot of the series in what must be the best day of his young life. And things would stay this way for a solid 11 years before eventually being switched up once again for Candyland 1978. Oh, what happened? Okay, this box is a little bit all over the place. First off, what the heck happened to Gingerbread Man? Those last 11 years were not kind to him. My man looks like he's on death's door. Also, this girl has absolutely nothing going on behind those eyes, and is that Arial font? Why did they put it right there? It looks like I added that in post. What in the world? Past the box, the board has returned to that more simple style. The Candyland kids are the most realistic they've ever looked, and Gingerbread Man has not only been stripped of his name tag, but also any sense of style. The stoplight tux is a fashion travesty. Other than that, it's pretty much just classic Candyland. And it's the last iteration of classic Candyland that we will be seeing, as after this, Milton Bradley will be sold off to another titan who will be taking over the operations from here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have officially entered the age of Hasbro. Hasbro acquired Milton Bradley in 1984 and wasted no time taking Candyland for a spin, producing their own version of the title that same year with Candyland 1984. And King Candy told you to reject the evidence of your taste buds. It was his final, most delectable command. Candyland 1984 was the start of the golden brown age for the game, introducing new characters and story elements that would become mainstays of the series. Chief among those, Gingerbread Man has been put to death. Gingerbread Man is nowhere to be seen, and I don't think he ever reappears. The leading suspect in his disappearance, of course, being the dastardly Lord Licorice. You see, the Lord has managed to uproot the gingerbread plum tree and relocate it in order to construct his Licorice Castle. And seeing that GM would have stood opposed to this maneuver, it is no surprise that he vanished slightly before this took place. This act firmly established Lord Licorice as irredeemable in the eyes of the Candylandians. And if you would like to know more about what led Lord Licorice down this path of evil, stay tuned for the 8-hour The Dark and Disturbing Lore of Candyland 1 million sub special. But as for the current goings-on, our flavorful foe has launched yet another tasty bluff. Lord Licorice has, somehow, caused King Candy and the Candy Castle to disappear. So Queen Frostine and Princess Lolly have enlisted famed explorer duo the Candyland Kids to venture out and find the missing monarch. 1984 is important as this game is the introduction of many fan-favorite characters in Jolly. Mr. Mint, Plumpy, Jolly, Gloppy, and the distinguished Grandma Nut. It is also one of the most violent, as another notable death is the extinction of the Candy Hearts plants, which died out after Lord Licorice's forceful relocation of the gingerbread plum tree, of which Plumpy took charge of managing in remembrance of the late great Gingerbread Man. But with the new status quo established, let's jump forward 15 years later to Hasbro's next attempt at the brand, with Candyland 1999. This version of the game is really just an update to the designs to make the world feel brighter and more lived in. All of the characters are more active, Lord Licorice has an awesome new look, and Gloppy is just having a grand old time back there. You go, Gloppy. There are really no significant changes other than the board orientation and some art switch-ups, so let's go ahead and move on to the second version of the game released this year, Candyland 50th Anniversary Edition. This game is, if you haven't figured it out by now, a title to celebrate 50 years since the game's first release. For this one, Hasbro pulled out all the stops, with the modern characters and imagery all having been redesigned to look more like the classic style, giving an eye into what they might have looked like back then. Notable examples include the human characters all wearing much more realistic clothes, Lord Licorice continuing to have that fit on regardless of version, the gingerbread plum tree apparently getting some work done over the summer, Jolly mysteriously transforming into a human boy, and the Candyland kids honoring their fallen mentor by transforming into gingerbread men themselves. The only one to not get a fresh new look would be Gloppy, as, much like the humble Shy Guy, you can't improve an already perfect design. I really like what they did with this, as instead of just doing a re-release of the original, they put a ton of work into changing the character designs to celebrate both the past and the present, including all of the jank that came along with it. But with the celebrations over, it's time to get back to business. And business is booming just 3 years later with one of the series' biggest releases, Candyland 2002. The 2002 version of the game established some of the go-to designs of the characters with their much more cartoonish look, and these would go on to be used in many a supplemental material for the brand, as we'll get into later. The designs and names of the characters do carry some interesting lore implications, as this game is possibly a prequel to that original 1984 version. Firstly, all of the characters have been aged down. Grandma Nut is much younger, Princess Frostine has yet to be crowned a queen, Lolly is not yet even considered a princess, and Jolly has yet to reach his final form and is currently some sort of dinosaur? We can be sure that this takes place prior to the 1984 game, but not by much, as Lord Licorice has already killed Gingerbread Man and displaced the Gingerbread Plum Tree, but very recently, as he is yet to construct the Licorice Castle, and Plumpy has yet to take over as its caretaker, which is why the plums are so small. Lastly, I don't know what this beaver creature next to Mr. Mint is, but this is the first and last time that we see him, so I assume he's dead as well. But with the prequel giving us the needed beginning to the tale, it also serves as the end, as this is the last time that you will see these beloved characters like this in a mainline title, as 8 years later, Hasbro decided that what this series needed was a reboot. Candyland 2010. Why have me give the introduction when Hasbro can do it for me?
A shortcut! Be the first to the castle to win! Yes! Welcome! You won the game! Candyland, the Kingdom of Sweet Adventures game!
I looked up the voice actor for King Candy, and apparently he's been in 2 different Yu-Gi-Oh! Shows, as well as Boardwalk Empire, so the man loves games, I guess. Candyland 2010 is a complete reboot of the board, characters, and lore, with it returning to the vertical style game board but keeping the same beloved gameplay as all the others. Many of the established cast have been removed and replaced by new faces. Plumpy, Mr. Mint, Jolly, and even Grandma Nut have been abandoned, with Gloppy only surviving by disguising himself as part of the mountain. In their place, we have some new faces as well as new takes on some classics. The Duke of Swirl now holds dominion over the ice cream slopes. Grandma Gooey, which just might be worse than Grandma Nuts, resides in the Chocolate Mountain. King Candy has a new trim and a new fit, while Lord Licorice continues to have uncontested style no matter the outfit. Princess Lolly has regained her regal title, but shares it with the still Princess Frostine, who, to put it bluntly, looks like somebody that would try to wash a paper plate. She looks like a gosh dang Bratz doll. What happened here? The board is also just chock full of things going on. Not a single wasted area or place of rest to be found here. I think the designers might have been on a sugar crash with this one. After sending this one out to the masses, it apparently was a bit controversial with the changes that it made. So Hasbro said, alrighty, we've got you, and decided to try again and give the people what they wanted in Candyland 2013. Alright, anime is officially canceled. All of it. I'm sorry, it just needs to be done. Candyland 2013, the very first edition to give your eyes diabetes. This version has changed pretty much everything. The board has a whole new art style, the Candyland kids aren't even humanoid anymore, and the game uses a spinner instead of cars. Which technically does make it a revamp, but I'm not breaking the release timeline for this one. It doesn't deserve it. Of course, with any new Hasbro release, we have to see what they've done to the characters. Any of the original non-human characters have been removed entirely as they've finally gotten to Gloppy. And I really enjoy this line from the Candyland wiki for the game. Jolly has not been seen since 2004. We could have been looking for him this whole time, but really? For Jolly? But in their place, we have these 6 characters that will be bearing the load. Mr. Mint has returned, and he looks like he just got back from the vet. Nana Nut is here this time, and it looks like she just finalized her second divorce. Princesses Lolly and Frostine each have eyes the size of baseballs. King Candy is attempting to win a world record for beard windowing. And Lord Licorice continues his undefeated streak of having the best style in the entire kingdom. The man does not miss. Now, if the last board was active, then this one's a professional athlete. There's so much going on that I'm having trouble getting my eyes to focus on any given thing. Also, when did King Candy decide to militarize? If the last game was considered controversial, then this one caused an outright uproar. People responded to this one so negatively that Hasbro shifted gears and pumped out another game just 1 year later, setting a new record for the shortest amount of time between releases. So let's see if Hasbro finally got the memo this time around and put out the Candyland that the public was fiending for. Yep, that sure is Candyland. Candyland 2014, a return to the more classic style, although we only have a few characters and changes are still evident throughout. Mr. Mint has fully leaned into the elf lifestyle, Nana Nut has aged back into her elderly form and now lives in her acorn house. Princess Lolly is now in possession of some type of head protective gear, probably in response to whatever caused her face to swell up. Princess Frostine has apparently developed an affinity for chocolate ice cream, and King Candy now has embraced the role of Santa Claus. That is 5 out of 6, so all that is left to do is check out the fire attire that Lord Licorice has decided to bless us with today.
Estragaram o personagem.
Whoa, what is that? That's the most disgusting creature I've ever laid my eyes on. What did they do to him? The man has never looked bad in his 30 years as a lord. This is a character assassination that could warrant an international incident. He doesn't even live in a forest anymore. The man resides in a lagoon, and why do his arms go down to his knees? What is this thing? Least favorite title by far. Unforgivable. But closer to the standard brand image. So let's let Hasbro put this into the oven for another couple years and see how our beloved cast is doing in their next iteration. They crippled Mr. Mint. Okay, so Candyland 2021 brings a more detailed style to the board while reducing the number of spaces to 82. By far the least amount out of any game in the series. Another big change you might have noticed was to the cast, where all of the major players have been redesigned except for King Candy, who retains his 2014 look. Notable changes include a completely new Princess Lolly, this guy apparently taking up the mantle of Jolly, which is the most blatant case of identity theft of all time, but not a single person cares enough about Jolly to look into it. The new Duchess Eclair taking up the spot of the recently put down Lord Licorice, which I'm not even upset about. The man was clearly not well. It would have been cruel to make him suffer. Mr. Mint, who is now paralyzed from the waist down after a gruesome lumberjacking accident, and Queen Frostine, who appears to have ingested a considerable amount of that chocolate ice cream. Yes, you heard that right, it is back to Queen Frostine, as it only took Hasbro 22 years to remember that her name is supposed to rhyme. The only notable board info is that despite Lord Licorice being gone, the spaces with Licorice still remain, marking that his followers still believe in his cause even after his death. Other than that, same old Candyland. And I thought that would be the last mainline entry, but Hasbro surprised me once again by releasing yet another title in the big 2025. So let's check out Hasbro's last chance to figure it out with their most recent entry into the series, Candyland 2025. Queen Frostine looks very unsure about this whole operation, probably because Princess Lolly looks like she's 55. Candyland 2025 has had by far the most effort poured into it since the 2002 release. It has brand new high quality player pieces, a drawstring pouch to draw the tiles out of, and quite importantly, the characters are finally back. Plumpy is caring for the tree again, Gloppy is having the time of his life, Mr. Mint is no longer paralyzed, Grandma Nut is out picking the flower cups, and most importantly of all, Lord Licorice has got his style back. All hail the looks lord. Curiously, it appears that a coup has taken place in the Candy Kingdom, as Queen Frostine is now the one to greet you at the Candy Castle, while the recently deposed King Candy has been exiled to a raft near the Ice Cream Beach. The amount of political turmoil in Candyland is crazy. But old characters are not the only ones making an appearance, as a new duo has been introduced to the lore in the Gummy Twins, Sweetie and Soury Bear, who appear to have completely replaced Jolly, and all I can say there is good. After looking through all of the versions, this is the closest Candyland has felt to Candyland since 2002. Probably because Hasbro decided, okay guys, game-changing idea here, what if we just stopped effing up all the characters? Overall, a good title to leave the series on, but we'll have to see where they take it in about 4 to 5 years. And that concludes our look at every mainline game in the Candyland series. But there is one more themed edition that I wanted to highlight before we moved on. Candyland Vintage Bookshelf Edition is part of the Vintage Bookshelf series of games that takes classic titles like Sorry, Chutes and Ladders, and Connect 4 and stores them in these book casings in order to be stored on a shelf. A neat concept that does look pretty cool when put together. The big thing about these ones is that the games take the form of older versions, with the Candyland Bookshelf one being based on the 1978 version of the game with the horrific gingerbread man right before he died. Overall, a really cool way to bring back older versions of games. But I'd say it's about time to be out with the old and in with the still old, but with a different structure. As while the themed editions are neat to look through, they'll never compare to the sheer wonkiness that can be brought on by a poorly thought out revamp. So let's check out some of the versions that decided to do things a little differently, for better or for worse. Now, since I covered the mainline titles based on the order that they were released, I'd say that it's only fair that I abandon that structure entirely and cover the revamps in order of how wonky they are. So to start us off, take the magic of Candyland anywhere you go with Candyland Fun on the Run. Imagine how much fun you could have playing Candyland on a road trip. Now imagine how much fun your parents will have listening to you whine about Candyland on a road trip. This 2007 release is a travel version of the 2002 board, coming in a foldable tray that has holes in each space that your piece can go into so it doesn't slide around. With the biggest change being that instead of cards, there is a spinner attached to the board that you use to move. Just imagine that spinner sound for 16 hours while on the road, like a gumdrop version of Chinese water torture. But if you're not a fan of small, then now's your chance to be big with Candyland Giant Edition. This rendition comes with a big ol' playmat that the kiddos can stand on and tasks them with moving around the board collecting sweets before heading to the center to meet King Candy. Based on the 2014 board, this also comes with a lollipop spinner to determine player movement as well as a foam crown for the winner that immediately makes them the ruler of the household. Whew, thanks for taking that off my hands. Good luck with that mortgage, kiddo. I'm out of here. Gameplay of Candyland a little too complex for you? Then try out Candyland Castle, made for ages 3 and up. Forget knowing how to read. These kids might not even be sentient yet. Candyland Castle is, shocker, incredibly complicated. Slap the top of the castle and a colored shape will slide out, which you will have to match with one of the shapes on your gingerbread man. First player to fill all 4 of their shapes wins. Now, there isn't a lot of game to talk about here, but what is real funny is looking at the Board Game Geek reviews for this one and seeing people go absolutely wild on a game made for preschoolers. Primitive game, all luck and no skill. Son plays this by himself? Are you too good to play Candyland with your son? Of course I am. I wouldn't dare sully my hands with that filth. Some fine room is ready to play Gloomhaven. I don't like Candyland because the last time I played it, the kids didn't even have fun, but if they wanted to play it, I would still play it with them. But if this game is just a little too simple for your refined palate, then try a whole new way of play with Candyland Bake Off. Alright buddy, this is by far the most complicated Candyland game that we have seen so far, so you better lock in. What you do in Candyland Bake Off is start the timer and flip over a recipe card. On it will be a certain group of ingredients needed to make the bake. So you will roll your 4 dice Yahtzee style until you either get enough matching symbols and draw another or run out of time. The solo bakes can only be completed by you, the bake-offs can be done by anyone, and if you draw an overbake, then the next player gets to use all of your remaining time before their time starts. Winner is the one with the most points after a certain number of rounds. Yeah, that one's a little too much. Can we go back to the one where I just hit the castle? Best part of the game is going to be the timer going off. Moving on. Candyland Ice Cream Party. Spin the spinner to see how many toppings you need to add and attempt to make the tallest ice cream tower without it falling over. If all the toppings are added and the tower stays, everyone wins. This is a cooperative game where everyone is adding to the same ice cream sundae. So in order to make this work, you are going to need to figure out who the best stacker is so that they can handle the tougher toppings. The game also mentions that you can play by yourself by attempting to make the tallest tower, which would help you get some good practice in, what with regionals coming up and all. Candyland Sweet Celebration Game. Tired of that same old Candyland board? Well then build your own, you ungrateful bum. The Sweet Celebration Game tasks players with getting from their starting location to the Candy Castle as per normal, but switches up the format by not only requiring players to collect certain candies before they arrive, but also makes them build the path that they will be taking there. This makes the game extremely customizable, as you can just have a 100-meter sprint right to the finish, or put together a grand Candyland adventure full of twists, turns, and musical numbers. Interestingly, Hasbro has also taken this opportunity to add some new locales and characters to the lore, with you also being able to visit Captain Kid Cone aboard the SS Neapolitan, or hang out with the proud denizens of Czechoslovakia. Mind you, this game was made in 2009, so Czechoslovakia had been dissolved for around 17 years. They really just brainstormed that one and went, nah, that's too good to pass up on. But if you are not a fan of the political standing of Czechoslovakian President Koko Gottwald, then maybe you will be a fan of Bingo! Another stellar transition. How do I do it? Candyland Bingo. Select your card, spin the spinner, and try to be the first to get a bingo. Real taxing stuff here. You have standard bingo, where you are trying to be the first one to get a tic-tac-tac-toe 4 in a row, or there's completion mode, where you are trying to be the first to fill your entire card, which might not work all too well considering all of the cards have 4 of each color. Alrighty, next spin here, and the color is red. Bingo! Wait. Up next, it's Candyland, a child's world of card games. What does that mean? Well, it's just a deck without any of the face cards. Too bad, buddy. Quite a shame, really. If only we had characters that could fill the role of King, Queen, and Jack. Nothing we can do there. This game comes with the cards and rules needed to play classic children's card games with the Candyland cast. War, concentration, spoons, old maid, anything you could ever hope and dream of is possible unless they needed face cards, so no euchre. I am being serious.
Pedro, vem jantar.
Já vou. Já volto. Voltei.
Now though, I don't actually know how to play spoons, so if this explanation is correct, please let me know because this might be the funniest possible way to learn how.
Ziziquinhazinha. Oi, bebê. Oi. Menina.
Eu vou tomar banho, Pedro.
Ah, tá.
Disappointed in the lack of steam-powered engines in the region? How did you know? Well, sulk no longer with Candyland, Le Jeu du Train game. If you like the French language, I recommend just skipping this one. It's not gonna be pretty. Tout le monde est board for a magical treat-filled train trip. Hop on board and roll the die to move the train around the board. The first to collect all their candy cargo wins. Le Jeu du Train game is an interesting one as instead of cards, it opts for a 12-sided die for movement. Most likely for the effect of the hollow train gobbling it up like gosh dang Pac-Man so that it can travel around the board. What's also interesting is that this is based off of the 2010 board and its cast, making the Duke of Swirl of all people our conductor as well as one of the stops, which seems like a conflict of interest, but he is the Duke. And now we've reached our final revamped title and the most important one for sure. As if you want your kids to be able to grow up right, then you're gonna make sure to start them early with Candyland Lotto. Gambling? Yes, Candyland Lotto, later renamed to Candyland Wheel because we don't want children to develop bad habits. Boo! Sees players selecting their group of character tokens that they hope will get spun. Each turn, one player will roll a colored die and then place their finger in that colored circle. Then Treating it like dialing a rotary phone, this thing, move the spinner until your finger reaches the hole. Whichever character the arrow points to is the one that players can discard. Whoever gets rid of all their characters first wins. Alright, forget the subtext. If they want Candyland Lotto, I'm gonna give them Candyland Lotto. Here's how to turn this into a gambling game with real money. Gather your group of friends and charge a buy-in of, let's say, $10 for a pair of 2 tokens. Once everyone's in, play as normal and the first person out wins the pot. If you wanted, instead of a game, a real lottery, offer $10 per token but only give out 1 of each. Once all of the characters are bought, do 1 spin and winner takes all. Quite easy, quite degenerate. And with Hasbro's quota of getting kids hooked on some kind of addiction met, we have finally reached the end of the physical Candyland titles. But with a brand as valuable as this one, we can't just stop at making games. Oh no! As there's a whole host of different media out there that we can slap that one guy / thing on in order to rake in those big bucks. So let's jump now from the boards to the boardroom and see all the projects those lovely execs approve to expand the Candy brand. Now, in aiming to make some money from these ventures, the big men upstairs wanted some of these to be related to their target market in some way, which is why one of their most common side projects were various types of charities, but are not limited to Candyland Birthday Surprise, Candyland Colors, Candyland The Colors of Candyland, Candyland Happy Birthday Princess Lolly, Candyland Have You Seen King Candy, Candyland Lord Licorice, Candyland Mystery, Candyland Sweets and Treats, Candyland A Little Golden Book, Candyland The Official Cookbook, Mad Libs Jr. Candyland, and Unit E, a New York Comic-Con exclusive one-shot story about several Hasbro-owned properties teaming up to fight a global threat, including Stretch Armstrong, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Battleship, and yes, Candyland. In this story, I kid you not, Lolly is the princess of the fairies, a race of beings made of pure magic and possessing incredible power. To quote it outright, treat them with respect or be prepared for repercussions. Great, I can't wait to get assassinated by Princess Lolly, daughter of King Candy. That's exactly what I need. This entire thing is completely ridiculous and someone should really look further into it, but right now I need to stay focused on just Candyland as, once again, I need to deal with the shenanigans of network television. Because why stick with what you've got when we could be greenlighting a Candyland cooking show?
Go. We'll make it work. It's not over yet. You got it, girl. Come on.
O Wix te dá a liberdade de contar a sua própria história. Com um site profissional, que é a sua cara. Personalize cada elemento do seu site e crie uma experiência visual única para levar seu produto para o mundo. Faça seu site brilhar com um conteúdo que leve seu negócio para o caminho do sucesso. O seu site, sua voz, sua plataforma.
Some eat their feelings, I eat my way through Candyland.
Kristen Chenoweth hosts.
Some eat their feelings, I eat my way through Candyland.
Kristen Chenoweth hosts Candyland. Series premiere next Sunday night at 9 on Food Network. Set your DVR.
Dang, I hope you set your DVR, buddy, because otherwise it's $10 on Prime. Candyland the TV show is a dessert-making competition where teams of 4 will compete to make tasty treats on a fully edible set. One team will be eliminated each round, and the winners will be allowed to enter King Candy's castle and earn the $25,000 prize. Honestly, first episode, just start picking up as much of the set you can and book it. You will be set on birthday party treats for decades. Hosted by Kristen Chenoweth, this series started its first season in 2020 and is currently ongoing. At least that's what IMDb says, but seeing as they haven't put out a season 2 in the last 4 years, I would say that the Candy fans should not hold out too much hope. But hey, maybe they're just working on an even larger edible set. I tell you, when that gingerbread plum tree is fully grown, it'll be all eyes on them. Just you wait. But from one screen to another, we jump over to the computer to take a look at the PC games that they have made for the series, the first being Candyland Adventure.
So, the Candy Kid is here to help Captain Cookie save King Candy. Well, I'll give them a taste of sour power. They won't forget.
ladies and germs, the pinnacle of gaming in 1996. Candyland Adventure sees players attempting to save King Candy from Lord Licorice by solving various puzzles in order to undo the calamities caused by the villain, who in this rendition appears to have mystical powers?
Headed for the Gumdrop Mountains? Well, this will gummy up the works.
This one overall has the same feel as a low-budget putt-putt adventure type game, but with all of the interesting goings-on, this probably would entertain a child quite well. The other version, released 2 years later, is Candyland, a child's first game comes to life, which is way different to the first one in gameplay, art style, and especially budget.
Red candy.
Was that a Sonic ring? CLACFGCTL is a computerized version of the board game, having players draw their next move out of the candy machine and awarding the first person to reach the end the win and this stellar cutscene.
Hear ye, hear ye! You've completed your journey and reached the Candy Castle. So, congratulations on a journey complete. A job well done. Here is your certificate of merit. Farewell, hero of Candyland.
Did he hit his head on the way out or something? He's rapping like the Rat. The main appeal for this one is getting to visit the characters and interact with them when you pass their area. Wacky things happen, a whole lot of Candyland magic, yada yada yada. Look, we've still got 2 more games to get through before I even get to the brain melter, so we need to keep moving. Going from that screen back to the previous screen, go ahead and dust off that old tech for the Candyland DVD and VHS board games.
Are you ready? Let's play our game. Our story is entitled, Who's Been Eating My House?
Buddy, I'm gonna have to go with termites? These 2 games released for different generations, each carries the same general concept. Pay attention to the TV, and when it asks you to do something, you must do it, because he's Mr. Mint, and he's the boss. The DVD board game has more going on, what with its better tech, including a musical tour of Candyland and a couple different mini-games that kids can play with the included color spaces.
Well, hello there. Welcome to Candyland. I'm so pleased you could come. So, you want to take my gumball challenge?
Not in the slightest. Get away from me. The VCR version, in comparison, is much more simple, only having 2 games, color match and picture match, but it does come with 4 full stories that go along with the games that kids are likely to enjoy.
Well, it didn't work, and now you'll just have to return all the gumdrops to Jolly.
And all the plums to Plumpy.
Egads! I've been caught, red, and...
Can't even commit gumdrop theft anymore. Candyland used to be a proper country. But now, with all the other material behind us, we can direct our attention to our feature presentation. And I think you are going to love it. Because no game, book, or show could ever stand up to the pure wackiness that is a fully animated Candyland movie.
Exclusively on DVD and VHS, with 4 original songs. Join us for a sweet adventure. Candyland, available now on DVD and VHS.
As a disclaimer, please ensure that you do not get this confused with 2022 horror thriller Candyland. There are some slight differences. Candyland the Great Lollipop Adventure tells the tale of a gingerbread boy named Jib, who is attempting to travel to the Candy Castle in order to deliver his mother's frosting for the Festival of Sweets. Along the way, he uncovers a nefarious plot by Lord Licorice to take control of Candyland, and must work together with his new friends Mr. Mint and Princess Lolly in order to stop him at all costs. The film is from 2005 and therefore uses the character designs from the 2002 board, which ends up working well with their cartoonish designs and some solid animation. One of the real crazy parts for this one though is the voice work, as everyone does a real stellar job, probably because we've got some serious talent behind the mics for no reason. Here are some of my favorite highlights from the crew. Princess Frostine is voiced by Kathleen Barr, who also voices Trixie from My Little Pony, the mom from Johnny Test, and Kevin from Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Well, what do you know? Kid dork.
I heard. He's so proud of you. How exciting!
Mr. Mint is voiced by Ian James Corlett, who is also the voice of Mr. Fantastic in Marvel Rivals, Pilar from Edge Runners, the dad from Johnny Test, and Goku from the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z.
I am not Kakarot. My name is Goku. Maybe we should get a grown-up.
You are a grown-up.
I am? No! Yes, I am.
King Candy is voiced by Scott McNeil, who also voices Flam from My Little Pony, Piccolo from the Ocean dub of Z, and King Zizrar from Johnny Test again.
Mole Army! And nothing can stop us!
Delicious treats will be brought from every corner of Candyland and put in these gold cups.
And while the Johnny Test Reunion Club is pretty funny, the one on the wildest path for sure has to be Lord Licorice. Voiced by Mark Oliver, he has been in the following projects: Miles Dredd in Max Steel, Garmadon in Lego Ninjago, the narrator of 2 episodes of Hitler's Last Stand, and him in something called Powerpuff Girls Z?
But if you don't mind getting singed, then stick around. I'm about to put on a fiendishly impressive fireworks display. Yeah! Have some licorice vines.
But with all the vocal talent on offer, we can't just be using it on standard speech. Oh no, we've got a myriad of songs on offer to help immerse you into your adventure, including the theme song about Candyland itself, Mr. Mint's song about it being okay to have fun, and this absolute gem detailing the Lord's plot.
And soon my chewy sticky goo will reach into the sky. Licorice here, licorice there, far as you can see. The smell of licorice in the air. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So licorice everywhere, soon they'll understand. Life will be so great, so grand here in Licorice Land.
Dang, it'd be a lot easier to stop rooting for the villains if they'd quit giving them all the bangers. The movie is quite simple as expected. The characters must try to stop Lord Licorice, hijinks ensue, Mr. Mint dies in a super emotional scene, standard Hasbro kids movie stuff. I won't spoil too much.
Calma, já vou.
I'm planning on watching a 52-minute Candyland ad from 2005, and there are honestly worse things that you could spend 52 minutes doing, so give her a shot. As for me, I think I am officially done with Candyland for a while. I've been on this for way too long, and at this point the sugar rush has officially run out. So all that's left to do now is wait for the thing that everybody is wanting, the theatrical release of the Mr. Bacon's Big Adventure movie. Every ticket comes with 7 pounds of bacon and 1 visit to a cardiologist, so reserve your seat today. Signing off for a jolly good show, I am Cam Sandwich. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic day. A special thank you to my suppliers, staff, and chefs over at the deli, as well as the media preservers helping me get these rare games ported for the public to enjoy. If you'd like to join the crew, you can take a look using the link in the description below.
Para chegar bem preparado na prova do CNU, é importantíssimo que você resolva várias questões antigas da banca FGV. E você consegue fazer
52, Cheetahman. This is like the featured presentation. There's a comic book that came with the game, and plans for a whole line of Cheetahman action figures and merchandise. They must have spent all their focus on this one game, so this one's gotta be good. Right? It sucks! Monkey butts like all the fucking rest! Okay. Let's go. Well, it's not as bad as the other games. For one thing, it actually has a story. The action game master was at home playing his video game when suddenly an arm reached out of the TV and pulled him inside. Yo, watch the gonads. When he looked up, he saw 3 gigantic yellow bodies. It was the Cheetahman. Oh, really? He began to explain. The Cheetahman told of the enemies here in the game world. Don't worry, we will fight for you. The Cheetahman ran off. And now, the Cheetahman.
Já vou!
What kind of story is that? The Cheetahman are fighting for some gamer that got sucked into the TV, whom we never refer to again? What's this, a crotch burglar? Yeah, burglar's your crotch. Oh yeah, the enemies in this game are so inspired. They even resort to recycling characters from other Action 52 games, like Boob Lady and Saddam Hussein. Dude, think about it. A giant cheetah jumping over Saddam Hussein. Whoa, I never thought I'd see that. That's weird. Whenever you hit somebody, the music pauses for a brief moment. As far as the gameplay goes, there's not a whole lot to say. You just move right and kill everything in sight. What the hell? I can't go up? I can't go right either? Oh, you gotta go right before you can go up. That makes a whole lot of sense, just because the screen didn't move all the way. Now what's this? I can't walk past a hole? Even though I'm as high up as the game will allow. If you can only pass the hole from below, why is there such a big space up there? Not to mention, why couldn't the cheetah fall down the hole instead of exploding into 4 glowing orbs? Oh, and guess how the level ends? Like that. It just stops. What more do you expect? Welcome to the most awesome glitch of all. I'm jumping perpetually in midair. Yeah, I could do this all day. That's no problem. Oh, what the fuck? I went through the top of the screen and came out the bottom and died? You might say it's my fault for cheating, but come on, when I fall down, I don't drop through the ceiling and live. Besides, there's more enemies in the air than on the ground, so I don't recommend it. In level 3, you're a different Cheetahman. This is where the game starts to get hard. First of all, to die, all it takes is a few hits. Then because this big tub of fuck is such a large target, you can't duck either, so there's not much you can do to avoid all these projectiles. The jumping glitch only gets you so far. Fuck. Fuck. Oh no!
Starlink Mini.
Wait a minute. A 1-up? And it skips me to the next level? Aw, kick fucking ass! Life is kinda cool sometimes. But here's the weird part. The next level's supposed to be 4, but it's called 3. So there's 2 level 3s? It begins with this bizarre flashing disco strobe with Tetris blocks. What's that all about? And what's this? A health bar? I have a health bar all of a sudden? Well, that's convenient. I don't know why it's not in the other levels. And now the jumping glitch doesn't work anymore? The rules of jumping change from level to level? The major reason why it's so difficult is because you outrun the screen, so you're always taking damage from enemies that you can't see until it's too late. I mean, look how far to the right I am. Aw, shit. You gotta jiggle back and forth just to get the screen oriented properly. Rhino Man here, or Rocksteady, whoever the fuck he is, he kills you in 1 hit. Doesn't matter how much health you have, he runs right in and you're dead. The only way to beat him is to very slowly inch your way up, and as soon as he appears, you run all the way to the left. If you're just a hair too late, you're dead. Then you have to make very subtle taps with the D-pad to get yourself facing right, and 1 tiny step forward, just enough so he can't touch you. It's like the only way to beat this game is to cheat. Guess that's why it's called Cheetah-Men. Now we're up to level 4, which is actually 5. This time you get a cheetah that shoots arrows with a crossbow. You'd think that would make it easier. But no, the arrows never hit anything. They're too small and you can only shoot one at a time. It doesn't matter how careful you are, the enemies will always sneak in a hit before you can kill them. By the way, the health bar is gone again, but the formula is the same. 3 or 4 hits and you're dead. And I die on the first 3 or 4 enemies. Wow. The fuck nuggets who made this game thought they were gonna make action figures and it was gonna be the next best thing to Ninja Turtles? Well, that's the end of Action 52. But they made a Cheetah-Men sequel. Oh yeah. You know how with a bad game, sometimes you wonder how could it have even made it in the stores? Well, this is a case in which the horror was so unspeakable, the game was never released. The cartridges were taken to a warehouse where they remained for years to come. It was never meant to be played. Then, in the late 90s, a massive break-in took place. The cartridges were discovered and became valuable collector's items. That's a true story, except that the real story was probably a little less dramatic than that. Only 1,500 of these games are known to exist, and they command outrageous prices on eBay. I don't know if I should consider myself lucky or not.
Javon!
Here it is, the unholy grail of gaming. Would you believe that this game is so bad it doesn't even get its own cartridge? They recycled the same plastic casing from Action 52 and put a Cheetah-Men 2 sticker on the back. Let's pop this golden turd in and give it a go. The plot involves a Dr. Morbus who creates an ape-man to fight the Cheetah-Men. At least it explains who the villains are this time, and no mention of the stupid Game Master. The gameplay and graphics are similar to the first Cheetah-Men, and it reuses the same music. Geez, at least try to do something different. If they made Cheetah-Men versus Chester Cheetah, that shit would be the motherfucking ass. The only thing original about this game is that you shoot tornadoes with a crossbow. Yeah, next time there's a tornado ripping through town, just shoot an arrow at it. At least there's a health meter this time, but how many hit points do I have? A half and 2.5? The glitches are out of control. Blocks randomly change color, there's a stone nugget that keeps appearing out of nowhere, and what is that? The game's taking an 8-bit shit. You'd think they would have ironed out all the flaws and improved all the mistakes made the first time around. But no, somehow they actually made it worse, like pouring salt on an open wound. You die by jumping. Yeah, if you walk and fall, you're fine, but jumping from a great height, you're fucked. Oh, come on, I can't land on that thing? And why is it there? The biggest issue is not being able to duck. You couldn't duck in the first game either, but here, 90% of your enemies are on the ground. That's a major problem. I still can't accept this fact, so I'm always hoping in vain that if I press down hard enough, it'll duck. Sometimes enemies come in pairs. You can't even jump over that shit. They can't hit me here, right? What? Let's see that again. You can't even stand above the enemies. The only enemies that aren't on the ground are up in the air. Can't jump over, can't duck, and can't even shoot with a straight shot. You have to pull off a tricky jumping shot, but the enemies appear so quickly you don't have time. The second level boss, on the other hand, is too easy. All he does is run to the right, never jumps, never throws anything, never changes pattern, just runs in the same direction until he's dead. Level 3, it's the big cheetah again. Since all the enemies are stationed on the ground, the jumping glitch actually works favorably this time. But I don't feel bad about it. You know what, game? All the shit you put me through the first 2 levels, now it's my turn. Yeah, you wanna play dumbass? Well, double dumbass on you, motherfucker! You swine! You son of a motherless goat!
Eu sou cliente Bradesco desde 85, então eu sei exatamente o que todo cliente pensa. É tipo um superpoder. Presta atenção. Pra quem ama tratamento VIP, Bradesco é um prato cheio, né? Maravilhoso, maravilhoso.
Bradesco, cartões de crédito com benefício de estrela de cinema.
Level 3? Both games have 2 level 3s? How'd they repeat the same mistake twice? Maybe it was intentional. Now it's time for the ape-man. Oh, get your head out of my crotch, you monkey fuck. You won't get me this time, you son of a bitch. Whoa, speaking of monkey fuck. Get back here, you shit biscuit. Where'd he go? He's not coming back, is he? Oh, man. All right. So can I jump up and kill myself? No? Not this time when I need it? This is limbo. This is purgatory. The only thing I can do now is reset the fucking game. You're not gonna get away this time. Yeah, bitch. Well, I beat the game. At least I got as far as you could possibly go before it fucks out. Well, this is where I'd end things. But there's yet another Cheetah-Men game. Yeah, Action 52 on the Genesis. They just couldn't leave it alone, could they? Well, you'd think it would be the same as the NES version, except for enhanced graphics, but believe it or not, it's totally different. So before we can move on to the last Cheetah-Men game, let's take a quick look at what these assholes shat out this time. That music is so Genesis. It's nice we have outer space on the title screen. I mean, at least they're being upfront with it this time. Look at me, I'm shooting at strands of vomit in Space Town. But to tell you the truth, there's not that many space shooters. There's only about 6. That's kind of astonishing. They probably made up for it with the abundance of puzzle games. There's nothing wrong with something that challenges your mind, but this went way overboard. It's called Action 52. I want some action. Besides, if you're going to make a puzzle game, can you at least have some instructions? There's a game called Echo, which is basically Simon Says. Come on, that thing was in every toy store in the 80s. Did we really need a watered-down version on a Sega Genesis cartridge? There's definitely more of a variety here than on the NES. There's a pinball game, a boat game, a skiing game, and a handful of different action games. But they're all just shittier clones of mediocre NES titles. There's a flying game that's worse than Top Gun, and there's a racing game that's a shittier version of Rad Racer. There's also a tank game based off story.
Eu já vou! Calma!
Version, you're invincible and anything you touch explodes. Well, here it's the total opposite. You can't even touch a soldier. What kind of tank is that? Then there's games that are too easy. In Alien Attack, if you just keep running right and shooting, nothing will stop you. In the ninja game, you can actually run through everybody. In Bombs Away, you're running through a village avoiding bombs, but they'll never hit you as long as you keep moving. You can also jump like you're on a trampoline. Look at him, he jumps higher than the houses. And there's nothing to jump over, no holes, no obstacles, nothing at all. There's also a boxing game where the same thing happens. Have you ever seen a boxing match where somebody jumped, let alone 10 to 20 feet in the air? Another theme I've noticed is roadkill. There's a game called Freeway, which is an exact clone of an Activision game called, Freeway. They didn't even change the title. Instead of a chicken running across the street, you're a dog. That's horrible! The poor dog doesn't just get run over, it gets smushed into pieces. The other roadkill game is Skater. You're some kid on roller skates jumping 50 feet in the air, of course. And most of the obstacles are dead cats. At least I'm pretty sure they're dead. Why else would a cat be laying in the road? Tell me, if you're programming a video game and you have a choice of all the things that could be on the road, like mufflers, puddles of oil, traffic cones, hubcaps, fallen trash cans, open manholes, of all the things you could put there, why does your imagination go straight to dead cats? The names of these games are as mystifying as before. The tank game is called Norman. Is Norman the name of the guy in the tank? Then there's Sunday Drive. Yeah, just chilling out, going for a nice, relaxing Sunday drive, speeding through traffic at 100 miles per hour on a 5-lane highway. There's no accelerator, all you get is a horn, which doesn't do a damn thing. Oh look, Sega... Segaville, next exit. Again, and again, and again. For a non-existent exit, it sure has a lot of signs. There's a lot more two-player games this time around, so if you're playing by yourself, that's just more games you can skip. Dino Tennis is pretty funny though. You're two dinosaurs whacking a caveman back and forth. And a purple dinosaur? Really? Don't we have Barney? Isn't that enough? They recycle the same grunt and scream sound effects countless times. Even the spaceship screams. They must have been really hard-pressed coming up with ideas to fill 52 games. This one, called Appleseed, is just a farmer catching apples. Hell shit, motherfuckers. Damn apples come out of trees so fast, motherfuckers. Then there's this shitty drawing game. Yeah, try drawing with a D-pad. Game number 51 is called First Game. Seems like a contradiction. Why isn't it the 51st game? Well, guess what? It's Pong. This blows my mind on so many levels. First of all, just the fact that they had to use Pong to fill one of the games. Second, that Pong even exists on Sega Genesis. And third, the first game? Like it's the first video game ever made? That's debatable. The Odyssey came out the same year, and that was being worked on since the 60s. And before that, there was Space War, and if you really want to go back, there's those old games made out of radar equipment like Tennis for Two. So that's all they got for the 51st game? As for the 52nd game, there is none. It's just a trial run of the hardest levels from the other games. So technically, it shouldn't even be called Action 52. There's only 50 games. But at least they're all functional. Only once I've had a game crash, and it worked after I reset the Genesis. So just being able to play all the games is more than can be said for the NES version. As for the games with identical titles, they're all different and improved from their NES counterpart.